Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time, bright and early on this Tuesday morning, to look back on a wonderful night of playoff action in the NBA playoffs. 2 game twos in 2 series that we now have, as both of our opening round sets in New York between the Knicks and the Pistons, in Denver between the Nuggets and the Clippers, are a series indeed, split after 2 games. We also had 4 games on the ice last night in the Stanley Cup postseason, 2 of them going to overtime after a historic and record-setting year. Alexander Ovechkin continues to perform at the highest level. We'll go around Major League Baseball. We'll talk some more NBA action, getting you ready for a triple header of playoff action around the association on this Tuesday. And we're now just 2 days away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft. More markets available that give us a better picture about what the start of night number 1 on Thursday is going to look like in Green Bay.
The zigzag theory, Ben, is alive and well in the NBA last night. Oh, Pistons lost, didn't cover in game number 1. Won and covered in game number 2. Oh, no, the Clippers lost and didn't cover in game number 1. Won and covered in game number 2. Love to see it here. Scrappy teams picking up victories on the road in hostile environments. We love that. We also love the draft on Thursday night, and then Friday again, and then Saturday, in a big week it is. Major League Baseball, warmer temperatures, love to see it as well. But you know what the most important thing, Ben, that happened this morning? Overnight, an email was sent. Your trophy is ready. Where will this be sent? So it's almost time to have the coronation and a little bit of a redo in my background to add the Twins trophy for the 2-time Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Love it.
Not just the remodel, but the parade for Donnie Rightside himself around his neighborhood block. Roll down the convertible. DRS is throwing that trophy out of the car. Well, at least throwing it up in the air. When exactly, Donnie Rightside, is that Lombardi replica being delivered?
It's done, so I assume just as fast as it can be shipped here. So I'm hoping, what does it take? Like 5 to 7 business days, you would probably assume at this point. So I'm hoping, let's put the tag on 2 weeks at this point. Sometime in early May, it looks like it probably should be arriving, is what I'm going to assume.
I love that, Donnie Rightside. I absolutely do. Let's talk some NBA playoff action for who might be able to put a replica Larry O'Brien trophy in their household later this summer. The LA Clippers, when they play as they did last night, and when Kawhi Leonard scores 39 points and 15 of 19 shooting from the floor and a couple of clutch buckets down the stretch, when they perform it the way they did at altitude in Denver, the Clippers could really be a championship contender. They have evened the series at 1 game apiece, taking game number 2 on the road in Mile High, 105-102, covering as a slight 1-point road favorite, about 20 or 22 cents of difference on that money line. The Clippers win game number 2 behind a vintage 39-point playoff performance from Kawhi Leonard.
The cap was there yesterday. I pointed right to Kawhi Leonard. This needs to be a night that he stars. Game number 1, it was James Harden in a losing effort. And I said, you know what? If you want to go back to LA 1-1, I need Kawhi Leonard to step up in the biggest moments. 39 points going back to when he led, basically, the Toronto Raptors single-handedly, it felt like, to an NBA championship. That was the performance that was needed, and they needed every bit of that performance because it came down to a late 3-point miss there for the Nuggets. Another really competitive game, a fun series, which is exactly what we anticipated.
2 games so far. The overall margin between the two, 5 points. That is it. The Clippers with a victory in game number 2. And not just 39 DRS out of Kawhi, but 15 of 19 from the floor, 4 of 7 from beyond the arc, even withstanding a Nikola Jokic triple-double. Game number 1 between the Clippers and the Nuggets, we never saw a double-digit advantage on either side in the second half. Game number 2, we never saw a double-digit advantage in the entirety of that matchup. So the Clippers even up the series at 1 game all. The Detroit Pistons do the same, snapping a 15-game playoff losing skid. The longest losing streak in NBA postseason history is now officially in the books. After nearly 17 years between playoff wins, the Pistons hold off the Knicks in the fourth quarter last night inside the world's most famous arena, 194. Detroit wins outright as a 6.5-point underdog behind a huge night from the All-Star, Cade Cunningham.
Oh, we got a series now. I'm going to make believe. Like, the Pistons actually should be up 2-0 heading back to Detroit, but it's 1-1, and they'll take that. And also, what did we worry about yesterday? How would the Pistons come out after that collapse in the fourth quarter? I needed to see some heart in the first quarter. 25-18, a +7 first quarter for the Pistons. You knew they were in it to win it that night, easily covering the point spread last night. So impressive there. Cade Cunningham's 33 points. But also, your boy DRS said, look, man, it's playoff time. It's Brunson. You got to go over those points again. Bang, 37.
Some people watching Jalen Brunson play last night with his head bobbing and maybe a dirty word, foul baiting, were not all too pleased with the style on the floor. Detroit gets a win nonetheless. A huge Dennis Schroeder 3 late in that game, DRS, because the Pistons were up 13 early in the fourth, and things got dicey once again. Big injury news for the Milwaukee Bucks, who might need it after losing by 19 in game number 1 in Indianapolis. Damian Lillard has been upgraded to questionable for game number 2.
Great. Now we can look forward to 2 of 13 from three-point range for Dame as he comes back to try to ingratiate himself back to the Milwaukee Bucks team here. It should be good opportunity for Lillard in the playoffs. I just don't think they're as good as the Pacers now, and I don't think he's going to make the difference in the series for them to be able to win it.
Game 2 tonight inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse in downtown Indy. The Pacers remain a 4.5-point favorite. End of season interviews for the Dallas Mavericks, which means Nico Harrison was back in front of a microphone, which means very, very bad and very, very out of touch things. DRS saying this quote yesterday: I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level. Nico, shut the F up.
Yeah, he's not making too much sense right now. What he should have said is, like, I don't really care how important he was to the fan base. I just don't think he's going to be good for our team moving forward. That's why I made the decision. I could be hired for PR. Hey, Nico, you want me to fill in for your press conference? We will flame Luka, even if it doesn't make any sense. Best be known that.
Every time that Nico Harrison speaks, somehow, some way, he manages to make this awful situation even worse. Just call him fat. Play the heel. Be the villain.
Yes,
Go out there and say it with some gusto. Cooper Flag, DRS, took a little bit of time to officially declare for the NBA draft, but as we always knew, he was going to declare for the NBA draft. The expected number 1 overall pick officially is in the NBA draft, which comes our way in just about 2 months.
Yeah, he called Adam Silver up, like, Sixers getting that first pick? Oh, they are? Yep, I'm heading right to the draft at this point. That's the only way that he waited on that decision, to make sure he finds his way to the city of brotherly love, to be paired with Joel Embiid and get ready for business. I love it. The ping pong balls can't come fast enough for me. Let's go.
A historic moment in college football, our first ever quarterback trade. Nico Iamaleava, who transferred from Tennessee to UCLA. Joey Aguilar, who transferred to UCLA earlier in the winter from App State, now heads to Knoxville to be the next quarterback for the Vols.
Free agency on top of free agency on top of free agency. Let's see the NFL have 4 transaction windows for free agency. I would like to see that.
It would never make sense. 2 overtime thrillers last night on the ice. The Caps get a win. The Stars even the series. The Jets take a commanding 2-0 lead over the Bulls. High-scoring game. The Kings outlast the Oilers. More on the early line up next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
A series that we expected to be decided by a razor-thin margin, maybe the most competitive series we anticipated entering the opening round of the NBA playoffs, has certainly lived up to that billing. Both games in the series between the Nuggets and the Clippers, the 4-5 matchup around the Western Conference, have been decided by 2 points in overtime and 3 points in regulation. A total of 5 points. That is it. That is the difference between LA and Denver. Game number 1 went to the home team in the Nuggets. Game number 2 goes to the road team, as LA has evened this opening round set at a game apiece. 105-102, the victory for the Clippers last night on the road at altitude. A slight, ever so slight, 1-point favorite. Minus 120 on the money line. About 22 cents of difference, DRS. That was it. And LA wins and evens this series at a game apiece. A total, by the way, of 218.5. does stay under. Both of our games in this set so far have stayed under their pregame total, even game number 1 that did see overtime. The Clippers, a formidable side, especially when you get a dazzling 39-point postseason performance out of Kawhi Leonard.
Yep, so simple. Have your superstars show up in big moments. Kawhi Leonard, 15 of 19 from the floor yesterday, 4 of 7 from three-point range. As you see there, 39 total points. You know what else I love about that stat line? Only 1 turnover, which, again, keeping it simple in the playoffs when it's more defensive. You had 11 total team turnovers for the Clippers, 20 for the Denver Nuggets. You also take a look at the free throw line, which you said, hey, these guys always make their free throws. 83% with only 12 attempts for the Clippers, but you take a look down there in the Denver Nuggets in a three-point game, Ben, 63% from the free throw line. Just converting those extra free throws at home probably wins you the basketball game, and not turning it over, they weren't able to do that. But again, you still have to steal that game. It was close in the second half. A late three-point shot could have sent it to overtime. Big time win for the Clippers, who said, you know what? Superstars shine in the biggest moments. It was Kawhi Leonard. Loved what I saw. They should be 2-0 for me going back, but they'll take the 1-1 right now. But that was a big-time effort in elevation, not affording, or should I say you can't afford to go down 0-2. They avoided that. Now they go back with home court advantage secured for them to see if they can hold it.
Tightly contested, DRS. Second half and overtime of game number 1. We never saw a double-digit lead for either team. The entirety of game number 2, never a double-digit lead. And from the 4:59-minute mark in the remaining of regulation, a single-possession game on either side. Kawhi Leonard coming up clutch. And you think about 39 points, 15 of 19 from the field, 4 of 7 from deep, as efficient as you will see in a playoff atmosphere. James Harden, a solid night, 18 points as well. Ivica Zubac has been a revelation, 16 points, 12 boards. You can basically clock him in for 15 and 12 each and every night. Even Big Will, a couple of big threes, 13 points for Norman Powell. Nikola Jokic, a triple-double last night, DRS, 26 points, 12 boards, and 10 dimes, but not quite enough for Denver to outlast LA. So what does this mean now for a series tied at a game apiece? Of course, we talked about the weird distinctions, that slingshot theory, game by game, night by night, day by day, the odds fluctuations that we would see. The Clippers closed as a slight series outright favorite entering the opening game of this series on Saturday, despite being a 2.5 or 3.5 point underdog by the time we got the tip for game number 1. They lose. Denver becomes the series outright favorite, despite the fact they were a slight home court underdog last night for game number 2. The Clippers make good on that number. The Clippers win game 2, even the series at 1-1 as we get ready to head back to LA later this week. In the Clippers now, DRS, a minus 180 series outright favorite. LA back on top once again.
You know what? And I look at those price points because before the series started, I did think the Clippers would be able to win this. I just like the way they set up. First round, you get extra rest. They have a good team, and they're finally healthy. They should be able to beat the Denver Nuggets. But now I take a look at that price point and say, okay, I can get the Nuggets now at a plus 150 price. Do you think the Nuggets are going to get swept in LA? Like, could it happen? Yes. Is it going to be favored to happen? Probably so, because if you look at the Clippers game number 3 and game number 4, they will be the favorites being at home. But now, even though, like, you have to be optimistic. Like, even though you said, Donnie, the Clippers going to win the series, why would you go back on your word? That plus 180 price is juicy because I can see the Denver Nuggets stealing a game in LA and retaking home court advantage in elevation for the final 2 of 3 here. So you're almost in the evolution of let me just take a look at the price points here and make those educated decisions on a day-to-day basis because they fluctuate so rapidly. So for me saying, man, the Clippers won, that was great. It's 1-1 series. They should be able to take care of business the rest of the way. I now find myself looking at the plus 180 price like, ooh, okay. Now we might be having a little bit of a difference here, and maybe you can buy back in on the Denver Nuggets at a really good price at 1-1 with 2 really close games to start this series.
Absolutely so. Winning on the road in a playoff series against a very talented team, albeit with an interim head coach but a championship pedigree in recent memory, is incredibly difficult and should never be understated. With that being said, DRS, they didn't slap the Nuggets around winning by 25 at altitude. We think this series could see every single game, regardless of its duration, be decided by 5 points, be decided by a single-digit margin. Donnie, I still look at 7 games. this series going the distance at a plus 155 price. The shortest is 6 games at plus 145. It does make some logistical sense. If the Clippers win every home game they have in store, 3, 4, 6, they're winning this series now, winning 1 on the road in Denver. There is no doubt about it. LA to win in 6 is the shortest correct score at plus 265. But still, for me, I think we see the entire duration of this series. I think we see this opening round decided in 7 games, which, if that is my thought, you know what also makes some sense? Denver plus a game and a half. They get to 7, cash that bet. Does it matter if the Nuggets end up winning the series or not?
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. It's just looking at the different price points between the different games and what actually makes sense. And you have to remove your thought process from when you entered into the series. Don't have the bias, oh, now we're just going to ramp up on the Clippers. If you do find value in the opposite side, you're getting a much better price now. Understand this as well. If I'm looking from a game-to-game perspective, I do think it's going to be exciting, and the Clippers will win game number 3 at home with all that juice. And then the Denver Nuggets, who have won a championship, we can't go down 3-1. That's a kitchen sink game. So I think Clippers win game number 3, but a legitimate chance that the Nuggets can win game number 4.
A little bit more on that series coming your way next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
A doubleheader of game number 2s on a Monday to recap for you on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. Both of our road teams win outright to even up a series at a game apiece. We'll look at what happened inside Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Pistons in just a moment. But DRS, a couple of closing thoughts on where this series now stands in the Western Conference in the 4-5 matchup between the Clippers and the Nuggets. LA taking game number 2 on the road, not as an underdog, as an ever so slight favorite. We have looked at where the series stands now. The Clippers, who entered game number 1, despite being underdog for the actual game, as a slight series outright favorite. than a favorite for Game 2, despite being a slight series outright underdog. Now a series favorite once again. Juiciest number we have seen on either side, expected to win this opening round set at minus 180. But both you and I think this goes the distance, and a razor-thin margin in the opening 2 games, probably going to be the consistent theme the entirety of this time. You mentioned what we will see now in Los Angeles. Game number 3, Thursday night in LA. First ever playoff game inside the Intuit Dome in front of the wall. And LA is a 5-point favorite early for game number 3, the largest spread we have seen so far in this series as well.
Yep, how I approach this series, as I told you, is going to be a lot of excitement there. The crowd's going to be loving it. The team's coming back 1-1. Now they have home court advantage. I do think the Clippers will handle their business in game number 3, which then you say, well, Don, if you like that plus 150 price and you would jump on that thinking that the Denver Nuggets can still win the series, why would I take it game 3? Answer is I wouldn't. I would just wait until game number 4 when I think they're going to be down 2-1. Now, could you have missed an opportunity where the Denver Nuggets steal game number 3? Yes, because that number obviously will flip back towards Denver's favor. But if I'm being honest and saying, I know the ebbs and flows typically, and you say, well, what about the zigzag theory? You would be correct. You should be zigzagging back to the Nuggets in game number 3. But I'm going to hold off on that because I think they can get game number 4 because of how important that game is going to be. And also, if the Clippers go up 2-1, they're not going to say, Ben, hey, you know what? That's cool. We took our game at home. Let's lose game 4 and go back to Denver. No, they're going to look to really put a stranglehold on that, lead at 3-1. But for me, if I'm betting my money, I'm waiting till game number 4 when I know it has to be a kitchen sink game because I don't think the Denver Nuggets win game number 3, and I get a way better price point down 2-1 than 1-1.
DRS, I completely agree with that thought. Again, could Denver steal game 3? For sure. Game number 1, a 2-point margin in overtime. Game number 2, despite Denver losing on its own home floor, only lost by 3 and had a look late to at least equalize and maybe send us to an extra session for a second consecutive game. And based on what is expected for game 3, with the largest spread we have seen so far in any of these 3 games, 5 points in favor of the Clips, Donnie's exactly right. The Nuggets are going to be a pretty hefty underdog for game number 4 and maybe a hefty underdog in the series as well. And Donnie, again, if we think this is going 7, you're going to get better numbers on this to go to 7 games. You're going to get better prices to pay for the Nuggets to cover as the series underdog, either with a big plus money sprinkle or in terms of that series spread. Game number 3, inside the Intuit Dome. Home playoff debut in that new arena Thursday night in Los Angeles. DRS, the first game of our doubleheader yesterday inside the world's most famous arena. The Pistons and the Knicks inside MSG. The Knicks winning game number 1 with that dramatic fourth quarter rally in the 21-0 run to put the Pistons away, even covering as a 7-point home favorite. They go off in game number 2 as a 6.5-point home favorite with a total of 220 and a hook. Detroit had other ideas. This time, holding the Knicks off in the 4th and final stanza to snap a 15-game playoff losing skid. First playoff win for Detroit as a franchise since May 26th, 2008. The Pistons win outright 100-94 as a 6.5-point road dog inside the Garden.
And going on the road, you might just look at one box score and say to yourself, what's the statistic that I want to look at? How about 6-27 from three-point range for the Pistons, 22%? And they won that basketball game, which shows you how important Cade Cunningham was in that game. Dennis Schroeder off of the bench, and almost Tobias Harris, who I missed a sweep in this game by half of a point as he taps in for 15 points, but grabs 13 rebounds here. You flip it over to the home team, which is supposed to shoot better than the road team. It's their environment. You didn't get that from the New York Knicks. 28% from three-point range, only 42% from the floor. Brunson showed up with 12 of 27, not all that efficient there, but still with the 37 points, just not enough from that bench. But then again with Tibbs, he just runs his starters out there 40 minutes a game and say, hey, who cares about the bench? Let's see what we can do. Knicks couldn't do anything last night.
Let's see how this game played out, and let's hear from Tom Thibodeau on the other side of the break. Next on the Early Line.
knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hasn't been a ton of indication that Cleveland is even looking at anybody outside of Travis Hunter. The Giants, yes, have worked out Shedeur Sanders.
I do think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Not because they deserve to be first round, have a first round grade on them per se, but the fact that you get the extra year of control, somebody's going to slide into one of those 30, 31, or 32 slots and grab a quarterback.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Detroit Pistons win their first playoff game since the year 2008. 16 years, 10 months, and a few days of change in between playoff wins for the Pistons. Last night in game number 2, Detroit goes into Madison Square Garden and wins outright as a 6.5-point underdog, 100-94. DRS Cade Cunningham with a masterful performance, 33 points to lead the Pistons. He only had 21 on 8 of 21 shooting in game number 1. I said yesterday, Cade needs to be better. He is the all-star to lead the Pistons, and he certainly was. But a huge performance off the bench from Dennis Schroeder as well, scoring 20 points, including a very, very clutch 3 when this game got tied at 94 all with just about a minute remaining. And Donnie, we talked yesterday. The theme for this second game, resolve for Detroit after leading by 8 early in the fourth quarter on Saturday night in the Garden. How would they respond after that 21-0 run and losing by double digits? We saw it from the Pistons from the very start, and we saw it as well in the fourth quarter. A team that perhaps has learned from a playoff lump. Donnie, they led by 13 early in the fourth quarter last night. As I said, with just about 60 seconds left, the Knicks fought their way back to tie the game at 94 apiece. And yet Detroit did not stumble this time. They did not fumble this time. They showed that resilience. Dennis Schroeder a clutch 3, and they hold things down the stretch to win their first playoff game since 2008.
Pretty impressive in that starting lineup, too. How about 3 players with double-digit reboundings? That includes Tobias Harris as well as Jalen Duren and also Cade Cunningham, which, by the way, Cade Cunningham is a guard. Scrappy getting 13 boards. That's impressive to go along with the 33 points. But that's what we expected, right? It was like, how were the Pistons going to show up in this game? Oh, woe is us. We just made it to the playoffs again. We should have won game number 1. Now we're out of the series because if we blew one game, we can't afford to do that against the Knicks. Coming out and salvaging those 2 games in the Garden, coming back to Detroit, where that crowd is going to be very excited for them for game number 3. But also understand this. In the playoffs, we understand you are going to be leaning on your starting 5. Most teams do that. But the New York Knicks have made it a penchant to say, we don't really care about our bench in the regular season for 82 games. In the playoffs, we don't really care about that as well. Everybody's going to play major minutes because typically you'd say to yourself, hold on. Every single player in your starting 5 scored in double digits. You need to get to 100 points. That's pretty hard to do, specifically when one of those players was Jalen Brunson scoring 37. I don't want to say like everybody else has to get involved because Bridges took 18 shots and Anunoby took 10 shots, Karl Anthony Towns 11 shots, and then you see Josh Hart down there with only 6 shot attempts here. But maybe you need to get more people involved. That includes the bench and also the rest of the starting lineup where it's not like, okay, Brunson, make something happen here for us. Because scoring under 100 points in a game at home is certainly not what the effort you was going to expect from the Knicks were. Because understand this, like the Pistons aren't a sensational defensive team. And for you to win game number 1 and say, okay, 21-0, nice run in the fourth quarter, let's really exert our pressure here in game number 2. Never able to do that. Credit the Pistons and their coaching staff for getting these guys ready to play right off the bat and taking the lead at the end of the first quarter.
DRS, a couple of good reads, a couple of good looks for us here, not to toot our own horn, but just to explain how the game played out early on the early line yesterday. You called on Kawhi Leonard to have a bigger performance in game number 2 for the Clippers. He did exactly that. I called on Cade Cunningham to have a bigger performance offensively in his output in game number 2 for the Pistons. He did exactly that. You mentioned Jalen Brunson over his points prop of 28.5, and we highlighted how Brunson scored at least 29 in 8 of the 13 playoff games the Knicks played last year, oftentimes skying over that number because of pure volume. He had 27 field goal attempts last night to score 37 points. But Donnie, a big conversation both online, in the game broadcast, and afterward was the officiating, the foul baiting, and was the game called consistently on either side. The Pistons had a large free throw advantage, but between the two superstars, as we'll highlight in just a moment, not a very big distinction. But don't tell that to Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, same. Like he battled like crazy. There was a physicality that, like I want to take a look at the, obviously huge discrepancy in free throws. Huge. So I got to take a look at that. Right. So, I don't understand, how on one side that, you talk about direct line drives, the guy's getting fouled and it's not being called. Right. So, and look, I really don't give a crap how they call the game as long as it's consistent on both sides. So if Cunningham's driving and there's marginal contact and he's getting to the line, then Jalen deserves to be getting to the line. It's really that simple.
So to Tom Thibodeau's point, Detroit last night, 28 of 34 from the foul line. The Knicks, only 19 free throw attempts. They hit 16. But the differences between Cade and Jalen, not nearly that extreme. Cade Cunningham, 10 of 12 from the stripe. Jalen Brunson, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. DRS, if you were watching the game or even looking at it afterward, what did you think of how the game was called last night and what we saw on the floor?
Yeah, it's pretty funny because I don't really care how the game was called there. You're looking at the statistics. Like you can say, like, hey, man, he was really good from three-point range, went 1 of 9. No, he wasn't. You're really good from three-point range. I don't care if you banked in 7 shots from 7 of 9. I just want the statistics here. And if you're telling me that Cade Cunningham got every call and went to the line for 12 attempts and Brunson got none of them and went to the line for 11 attempts, what are we doing here? Or, man, they called so many more fouls. No, they didn't. 24 to 22 on each side. Like the discrepancy is 19 foul calls to 2 entering into the third quarter. It's like you got to even this game up. This is lopsided. And also, it is a product of the environment. If your team is shooting more three-point shots, you're not getting to the rim at that point. Why do you expect more foul calls? Like we watch it sometimes in college basketball, right, Ben? A team that's predicated on a three-point shot, and like coach, like they didn't call any fouls. You didn't go to the rim. You didn't create any body contact. What do you expect to get miracle calls from the three-point line at that point? I don't have any issue with actually what Thibodeau is saying because it's a smart chess move by a coach. I feel like we got officiated wrong, even if they weren't. That gets planted into the next game when Brunson goes to the rim and there is some contact that you might not get that foul call. He's probably going to get that call, deserved or not. It's probably going to happen.
And there is a difference in foul calls. If a player, in this case Cade Cunningham, is slashing to the cup and getting hit, even marginal contact is going to be whistled. I think a big issue for people watching last night was Jalen Brunson defended physically by Asar Thompson or even Dennis Schroeder outside on the perimeter, and Jalen Brunson trying to initiate that contact, flailing his head back every time he connected with somebody else. This is the playoffs. That level of intensity, that level of physicality is what we demand in the postseason. It's one of the reasons people do not love the regular season because you don't see that intensity each and every time. I had no issue with how the game was officiated last night. DRS, as we look at where the series stands right now. The Knicks were greater than a $4 odds-on favorite entering game one. They win game number one with that fourth quarter rally. Entering game two, minus 750. The series outright price on the Knickerbockers. Well, Detroit snaps an NBA record, 15-game playoff losing streak, and now the Pistons have a little bit of life. We have evened up this set at a game apiece as we get ready to head to the Motor City on Thursday. The Knicks still a substantial favorite at minus 255, but I don't think there's any doubt, DRS, Detroit is right in this thing.
Yeah, prices are getting shorter too. Like before the series, I think we were in agreement on 2.5 for the plus 2.5, I should say, for the Detroit Pistons. That's now shrunk to 1.5, and rightfully so. And also, if you are looking at this price point minus 255, I know it's just based on like the odds before the series started and still 1-1, but that doesn't really tell the factor of these games. This actually is the Detroit Pistons, the better basketball team outside of one stretch here on that 21-0 run, which was ridiculous. If that doesn't happen, this is 2-0 going back for the Pistons there and seeing if the Knicks can climb back in the series. There's a lot of energy for the Pistons. That home crowd, as I said, will be excited. And I'm not looking at the Knicks right now saying, it's underwhelming, but they'll get it together. I don't think they played all that well last night, and even in game number one, outside of that stretch, which was 21-0, which you do have to give them credit for. But I look right now, that looks like, is anybody jumping in on the Knicks minus 255 right now? Like, ooh, thank goodness that price dropped. I'm certainly not.
Detroit is 4-2, both straight up and against the spread against New York this year. It is a dead even pick'em currently for game number 3 on Thursday. Minus 108 on both sides. First home playoff game in Detroit for the Pistons since 2019. Elsewhere around the association, next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For some teams around the association, they are focused on the NBA playoffs. Other teams were even a postseason team, but did not qualify for the actual playoffs. That includes the Dallas Mavericks, who, of course, lost to the Memphis Grizzlies in the Grind City on Friday in the game to become the 8th seed around the Western Conference. So now the season is over for Dallas, which allows a time to reflect. I'm not sure they really want to look back on what happened in 2024-25, but Nico Harrison, the general manager for the Mavs, had to do so yesterday. The third time we have heard from Nico following the Luka Doncic bombshell trade back in early February. And every time this man has spoken, in front of a recorded microphone or not, he has said something idiotic that makes him sound even more like an idiot. Like yesterday, DRS, mentioning how he did not know how beloved Luka Doncic was by the Mavs fan base. Don't believe me? Let's hear from Mr. Harrison himself.
Yeah, good question. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, you know, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage.
Outrage is the right word. Donnie, your reaction.
It would have quieted some of it if they were all there and healthy. I would agree with him. Like, he got hit with the double slammer, the horrible trade, and then everybody got injured behind it, which made it so much worse than probably what it was. But it looks like a Key and Peele skit right now. Like yeah. I don't understand like where we're going or what's actually happening. But the one thing we do understand about professional sports, and it's the major four groups. You can run your franchise into the ground, and every single day, your franchise gets higher and higher and higher with net worth. So the owners just go, well, bottom line, what are we going to lose next year? Nothing. We'll probably be sold out, and we get the same TV money as everybody else, and we don't have to spend all that money on Luka's new contract we have extended. And they probably in the boardroom go, good job, GM. It's about the bottom line, and we did very well again. So we'll see again next year when we review how that season actually went. Like, honestly, that's what I truly believe, because there's no way, shape, or form that either he is a plant from the NBA, like the NBA gave the Sixers Brian Colangelo, which like we have to get another star in LA because they're hard to get, and Luka can be there for 10 more years, and it's just good for business. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. You can't be a general manager and sit there and say, we have a generational superstar that our fans will love, and even if we sucked, Ben, for 10 straight years, they'd still come out and love Luka and say, you know what, the organization is trying. You can't be that tone deaf, be like, well, we knew he was a global superstar, but we didn't think people would get mad if we traded him. It's so detached from reality, what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks.
It would be one thing if they did suck, but they didn't suck. Luka Doncic led them to the NBA Finals a year ago. Luka Doncic, who just scored 37 for the Lakers in game number 1, albeit in a losing effort against the Timberwolves, upped his playoff career scoring average to 31 points per game behind one guy, Michael Jordan. Again, Nico Harrison saying, I didn't know how beloved Luka Doncic was by this fan base is ridiculous. It is one thing to spurn a fan base time and again, but also to just outright continuously say, I'm a non-ball knower who is not qualified to have the job that I do because I don't even understand basketball blows my mind. You're right. It would have been one thing if Kyrie Irving was healthy, if Anthony Davis was healthy, Derek Lively, who was injured before the Luka Doncic deal, if they were all out there. They might have got out of the play-in tournament. They might have lost in 6 games in the opening round. Would you have considered that a victory? No, because still, this season and what it represents is nothing for the Mavericks. The next 12 years of Luka Doncic being one of the 3 or 5 best players on planet Earth will continue to haunt the Mavericks. What really angers me is ineptitude by people who should be in leadership roles in displaying brilliance in those positions. So when you have a doofus who continues to make things worse, I feel for the fan base of the Mavericks, and that's why I get so heated when we discuss Nico Harrison.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like the instant reactions where nobody could believe this trade ever went down, and it's not good business at that point. But now I guess we just need, if you are the Mavericks from their side, you just need an in-depth hit piece that you release to the media that shows over a 3-year period or so where Luka was destructive behind the scenes and everything he was doing was detrimental to the rest of his career. So before it got out to the public, we wanted to make sure we got a good player back for Luka who's going to self-destruct at any moment now. That's the only thing I can think of with Luka Doncic because nobody has thought from day number 1 one of this trade, even if it worked out for the Dallas Mavericks, as we said, and won a playoff round or two. Like, Luka is the global superstar. And if you are a business standpoint, as opposed to saying, well, we're going to have to pay him a lot of money, look what you do. Like, Luka didn't grow up and was raised in, like, let's just say, South Texas. Luka is a global phenomenon, which means you're drawing from every company and how much money you can make overseas with him being your guy. That's the point. Like, Shohei Ohtani going to the Dodgers, like, yeah, that's fantastic, and we love him in L.A., but he's a global superstar. So you pay him $800 million, and you make $1.6 billion back because he's famous around the globe, and that's all you get, those eyeballs on your franchise. It's so destructive what the Mavericks did. Hopefully for them, when I say them, their fan base, that they sort of pull it together next year and they'll be okay. But, boy, just to rip the heart out of that city with their favorite player. And it wasn't like, well, he's 33, he's getting up there in age. No, he's not.
No, he's certainly not. He's 25 years old. So there was a lot of chants that were made in the immediate aftermath and for the rest of the season following the Luka Doncic deal at Nico Harrison's expense. Fire Nico. He was asked yesterday at the year-end press conference about his job status. Here's what Nico Harrison had to say.
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end. And so
that's a good point, Nico.
I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick. I think you add in Rick. The leadership that we have is really elite. And you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
I doubt that happens. And if you are judged on the totality of what you have done, you traded Luka Doncic, which is the most fireable offense the NBA has seen in recent memory. Fire Nico is right. Elsewhere around the NBA, up next.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hasn't been a ton of indication that Cleveland is even looking at anybody outside of Travis Hunter. The Giants, yes, have worked out Shedeur Sanders.
I do think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Not because they deserve the first round, have a first round grade on them per se, but the fact that you get the extra year of control, somebody's going to slide into one of those 30, 31, or 32 slots and grab a quarterback.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC. That is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Again, elsewhere around the association, outside of the playoffs, for a handful of teams, 14 of the 30 in the NBA, they are focused on the future. A lot of people focused on one guy, that would be Cooper Flagg. He took his time at the end of Duke's season, of course, reaching the Final Four, but losing in that comeback effort against Houston to declare when officially he would enter the NBA draft. Because of a little bit of a layoff, DRS, there was maybe some budding speculation that was Cooper Flagg considering a return to Durham. Not exactly. Officially and obviously, it happened yesterday. Cooper Flagg has declared for the 2025 NBA draft. He is going to be the first overall pick. The question is now, which ping pong balls fall in the favor of which NBA organization to draft Cooper Flagg, a generational prospect, at the top of this summer's NBA draft?
And you know what's interesting about this, too? Because what took him so long at this point? You have to understand how talented and how good Cooper Flagg is, and the amount of money, regardless of leaving college next year, he will accumulate through his 15 to 20-year NBA career, let's just say. Yeah. But also, some of these guys generally just say, you know what? The money will be there. You got to get there quicker. You got to get there quicker to get to that second contract. This is the way things work. They take a step back and say, well, I'm really enjoying this. Like, love my head coach. Love the coaching staff. The Duke community is so much fun. Like, all my roommates, like, I might want to come back for one more year because it's unfinished business. You could also argue that he's saying, you know what? I might feel like I let down the Duke, brotherhood, as we like to say. We were supposed to win this championship, and we didn't get it done. How great would it be if I came back and just, you know what? I'm going to write this ship here and go down as an ultimate Duke legend that said, I was fantastic my freshman year. I came back as a sophomore to conquer some of those demons and got it done here, then went to the NBA. But yes, from a business standpoint, he should not be staying in college another year because, look, the NIL could get him 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 million. That's still not going to accomplish as much as getting to that second contract quicker in the NBA and the shoe deals that he's going to get right out of the gate anyway. So for me, I understand why it took some days because he probably was weighing, even though he knew he was going to the NBA. Boy, I don't want to make the decision now. Let me take a couple days and think about this and decompress. Like, I love Duke and I would love to come back, but what's the best for my future? And it is going to the NBA, to be honest.
Again, there was some conversation, but the reality of that ever happening was zero. There was some conversation during the college basketball season after Cooper Flagg said, man, I love Duke. I would love to be back for another year. People are like, oh my God, he's coming back. It's like, no, he's just happy where he is, and he is playing good basketball for a generational team. But Cooper Flagg was always going to go to the NBA draft after only 1 year with the Blue Devils, and that has been made official. And Cooper Flagg is worthy of this kind of speculation. Cooper Flagg is worthy of this kind of notoriety. He has been the presumed number 1 pick even before he entered the collegiate ranks coming from Maine. Better than 19 points and 7.5 boards in his time in his freshman year in Durham. Donnie, he was every bit the billing that we expected this guy to be during his first and only season collegiately.
I mean, a white kid from Maine at 17 years old, cooking NBA talent. Like, the best of the NBA. Like, everything about him doesn't make sense. Like, to be this talented and hold up to those expectations. I just wish he was able to win that championship and say, you know what? I was one of the best players ever. Like, we talk about, Syracuse and Carmelo Anthony. Like, he might have been viewed a little bit differently had he not won his freshman year. But this guy came on campus, won a national championship for the Cuse and moved on. And everybody's like, man, that's the way you do it. Like, I'm sure Cooper Flagg looks back and says, in 15 years, loved my time at Duke, but man, it would have been nice to complete that journey and put a ring on my finger and just go down as one of the best. And now, granted, he is one of the best ever to play at Duke, but back in the day where he got 2, 3, 4, sometimes a redshirt freshman 5th year in NCAA college basketball to put up all those statistics, he didn't do that. He had one chance to get that ring and couldn't do it. But everything about Cooper Flagg has been amazing for the past 2 to 3 years, and good luck in the NBA, and I'm sure he'll do quite fine.
2 summers ago, Victor Wembanyama was a minus 100,000 favorite to be the first overall selection. Cooper Flagg is going to have a similar price. So the question is not, does Cooper Flagg go number 1 overall, but which team is drafting first overall? NBA draft lottery in just about 3 weeks. May 12th, the teams that finish with the 14% chance, the best opportunity to do so. The Hornets, the Wizards, the Jazz. But DRS has his eyes squarely on the team with the 5th best price, the Philadelphia 76ers at 5-1. Cooper Flagg to Philly. Could it possibly happen, Donnie?
Yeah, look, real quick, put that graphic back up here. I need it up here for a second. If we're talking about the NBA and we love Luka in LA, the Jazz get out of town. They should be a collapsed franchise. The Wizards, the worst franchise in NBA history. The Hornets, absolutely horrendous from the Jordan era. The Pelicans are meaningless. Then you get to the Sixers, and the Nets are meaningless. There's one team there that has an actual history in the NBA. It's the Sixers. They need Cooper Flag. They deserve Cooper Flag.
Weighted ping pong balls, hour 2 up next.
And Art.